Hello and welcome to another warehouse system tutorial. In this video, I'll be going over the buttons that are used to process an outgoing transfer. The first button I'd like to go over is found here in the top left corner of the window. When you click here, it'll show you information for the transfer, such as the transfer number, the customer ID, as well as the number of items and pieces for the transfer. The next button I'd like to go over is the item lookup button, found right here in the top left as well. When you click on the item lookup button, this small window will open, allowing you to scan in any item number to see information about it. So for example, I will scan in this item here. And as you can see, it is showing you a count of the number of pieces that are on the shelves for this item, as well as it is showing you a locator as to where to find these items. If you want to clear any of the information, you can click this button here at the bottom. And when you are done using this window, you can click OK or click off to the side to exit it. The next button I'd like to show you is the Show All button. This button is used to display items that you've already picked. So for example, I'll scan in a box and I'll scan in these three pieces right here for this item. As you can see, they have disappeared from the window. If I click the Show All button, it'll show me this row again because it will display items that have already been picked. If I were to scan in this item as well, when I click Hide Processed, they will both disappear and I can keep toggling back and forth to show or hide the items. The next button that I'd like to show you is the Shift Mode button. When I click on it, this small window will open. A list of pallets is shown here on the left. Right now we only have one pallet, so it is only displaying this one pallet. If I click on Box Mode, it'll show me a list of all the boxes, but we also only have one box here currently. If I click on the box, it'll show me a list of all the items that are here in this box. I can then click on certain items and use these plus or minus buttons to change this quantity that I'll be moving over to whatever destination I choose. So if I choose to move it over to a pallet, I can move it directly onto this pallet, or I can choose box mode and select another box. So for right now, I'll scan in another box. And those items were moved over to this new box. When I click on Shift Mode again and click on Box Mode, you can see that now there's a second box, and when I click on it, it'll show those items that I moved over. When I click on Box 1000, you'll see that those items are no longer there. We have another video that specifically goes over the Shift Mode button, but this is essentially how it works. We click on a box or a pallet, we select a certain amount of items that we want to move over, and then we select the pallet or box that we want to move them to. And when you're done, you click on the Move Selected Items button. I will click on the X to exit this window out. The next button that I'd like to show you is the Remove Items button. This button is used to remove items that we have already picked. To use it, I will click on the button. I'd like to first note that you cannot remove items from a box unless you are currently scanning that box in. So, for example, over here at the top, we are currently scanning in box 1000. So I cannot remove items from box 2000. I will click here and try to remove them. And I will get a buzz, and that is because I am not currently selecting box 2000. So I will now scan box 2000. As you can see here, we are selecting box 2000. And now I will try removing these three items. As you can see, those items have been removed. I would also like to note that I can scan in and remove items just by scanning the items itself. I do not need to use this pick button over here on the right. So for example, I will scan in box 1000 again, and I will remove these 5 items without using this pick button. So I'll scan this 5 times. And I've removed all of the pieces for this item. Next, I'd like to go over the New Pallet button, found here in the bottom center of the window. So first, I will click the Remove Items button to disable that. Then I will click on the New Pallet button. First, I will be asked to specify a location for the previous pallet that I've already picked. So I'll specify a location and click Save. And now I will scan in a new pallet label. And as you can see, the new pallet that I've scanned in is shown here at the top left of the window. I would also like to note that you do not need to use a New Pallet button to scan in a new pallet. you can just do so directly by scanning the pallet label. I will do that now by scanning in a new pallet. And as you can see, it will ask me if I do want to start a new pallet. I will click yes. And as you can see here in the top left corner, it has changed the pallet number to the new pallet that I just scanned in. Another button that I'd like to go over is the pause button that is found here in the bottom right corner of the window. This button is used to temporarily pause the process. This can be used whenever a worker wants to go on a break or just needs to take a second before working on the process. When you use the pause button, it will pause the process, allowing the worker to later log back in. So when I click on pause, it'll first ask me if I am sure that I want to pause the process. If I click yes, it will exit this window, allowing me to log back in at a later time, or if I click no or exit, it'll just exit this window and not pause. The last button that I'd like to go over is the finish phase button, found here in the bottom left corner of the window. This button is used to end the picking process. This should be used whenever you have already picked all of the items for the transfer and you are done with this process. When I click on the finish phase button, a small window will ask me if I am sure that I want to end this process if I have not already picked all the items. If I click yes, it will exit this window and complete the transfer out picking process. I will click yes to end the picking process. I will then also be asked to verify the location of the pallet. I will click save here. And that is all that I have to show you for the transfer out picking buttons.